Yo, what's going on, deities? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another edition of Titan Talk. Isaiah here, Kilgoon with me as usual, and we're here to hang out and talk about all the cool stuff coming to Smite 2. We had a flash test yesterday featuring OV6 with a lot of the cool content that's in that update. We're going to flash test again today, and Kilgoon has some points about today's flash test that he wanted to talk about.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today, everybody. Excited to talk, as always. I think I have the wrong headphones. I can't hear myself. It's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining the flash test yesterday. We learned a lot of good stuff already, and we're excited to turn the flash test on again today. The flash test with the Conquest queue will be live from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. today, so Eastern time.
Yep.
So right after Titan Talk is over, if you want to log into PTS and play OB6 and give us feedback on how Merlin feels and Merlin's aspects up, and I think we'll have more of the skins enabled today as well. So if you want to check out the skins, that should be today. And then we're going to do something a little different, and we're going to leave the servers up all night for people who maybe can't make this 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. flash test, but want to log in and try a custom, or like whether it's with your friends or you just want to jump into jungle practice by yourself. We just feel like the 2-hour time window maybe isn't great for people that are at work or school or whatever. So like I said, from 2 to 4 p.m. today. Flash test server will be up overnight. If you want to jump in and play it and give us feedback, please do jump into the Discord. There's a what's it called? Like a forum in the Discord.
A forum channel. Yeah.
Forum channel
for feedback and bug reporting.
Yeah, we do look at all of that. So we really do appreciate it. So please check it out and let us know what you think.
Yeah. So that Conquest queue will be live from 2 to 4. At 4 o'clock, the Conquest queue is going to turn off, but customs and practice will still be available. So if you want to hop in, make some content later on tonight, you still have custom modes available to you to play.
Yep. And then the other thing that will be new in the test today is Yamoja's aspect was a little bit underwhelming. So we're continuing to make some changes to it to see what we can do to make it more interesting. So in today's test, if you remember, one of the things that changes is it now bounces to enemies instead of friendlies and deals damage. Well, even if there isn't somebody to bounce to, it will now bounce back to that god at least once. So you're going to get damage at least twice out of it if you use it with nobody else around. So something new to play around with.
Should definitely help out a little bit more if you're in those isolated 1v1s, in mid lane or solo lane, and you've only got one target. You'll get those 2 instances of damage off of the bouncing bubble.
Yeah, and I think that
or the mending waters. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the mending waters. Yeah, and I think that we've seen some feedback that even still, is it worth spending 3 Omi on? So I think that this aspect is a lot of fun. I think that maybe we're still working on it. Maybe this will be the final version. Maybe it'll need a little bit more, but would love your feedback on how it feels today in the flash test. And then have another bigger announcement.
Yeah, that's going to be in the flash test.
A different sort of flash test. So there's been a lot of conversation in the community recently about Combat Blink.
Yeah.
And we are an experimentative, data-driven company that loves to just say, F it, we'll do it live, right? So we're going to run a test. It's not a flash test. It is a blink test.
Yes.
And we are going to be temporarily disabling Combat Blink in live. So for the next few days, we'll see exactly how long it lasts. We're turning off Combat Blink, and we want your feedback on how does this change the feel of the game? Does this change the pacing to be better? Does this change
engages team fights?
And we're going to be doing a survey. We aren't going to put the survey live today because we don't want your gut feelings on is this good or bad. We want you to play with it, and we want to see how it feels.
Yeah.
Realistically, some form of blink is going to be in the game long term, right? Like whether it's combat blink, whether it's the Smite 1 style blink, whether it's some kind of hybrid, whether they're both there but with tweaks, right? But we thought that the best step right now to get the data that we need to have to be able to take the next step is to just turn it off completely and then run this test and see how it feels. I think that it's been really interesting watching the discourse over the past few days, because even some people are like, Combat Blink's a trap. Noobs build it and then they use it and then it's on a cooldown for 4 minutes. Just gank them relentlessly, right? So it's well, is it causing players to lose more by picking Combat Blink, right? when they would have survived more with another
with
relic.
the beads or aegis.
Yeah. So I think there's all of these different angles to this relic in particular that the best way for us to test is just to let's turn it off. Let's see how it feels for a few days. And then we'll either turn it back on or we'll turn on a different version of it or something. So you wrote up this nice little blog. I don't know if you have anything you want to add to it.
No, yeah, this blog is live on smite2.com if you just want just a little bit. It's short and sweet. Basically, Kilgoon gave us the TLDR. It's a temporary test in live. We're removing combat blink. We really want your feedback on just how the game feels without this relic available for play. We want your feedback on how engages feel, how combat interactions feel, are team fights more predictable, just overall feels on this relic. And like you said, we're going to have a survey out later on this week. So, just give it a shot. Play a few games, kind of get your thoughts together. Yeah. Let us know on social media, Reddit, Discord, and then when that survey is available, definitely fill that out and let us know what you think.
Yeah, and it should be effective win now-ish. I believe maybe 2 o'clock. Maybe.
Yeah, I think Kabir was going to flip the switch right around 2 o'clock at the end of the show.
Yeah, so right about when Titan Talk ends, we will be disabling combat blink in live. So, yeah. Worth a try. We want the data, and we're the kind of company that likes running tests in live. We are still a beta. We listen to feedback from all channels, right? And I think that I see chat saying don't listen to Reddit. This wasn't just a Reddit thing. We've heard this from a lot of people, and we just wanted to see how it feels.
Yeah.
So this is not a written in stone thing, and we're not presenting it that way. So hopefully you don't feel that way, right? It's literally just we want to run a test.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that was all we had about, some of the bigger things happening today with the flash test and the combat blink test. And you've got your handy dandy notepad. You've got like 5 points to talk through.
I made notes today because I keep forgetting things that I want to talk about. So 2 other things that I want to talk about today. The first one is that I mentioned this slightly on Twitter, and I have more. I just want to talk to the Titan Talk audience about it if you don't follow me on Twitter. But we have been continuing to do matchmaking updates in the background, and we're seeing some major improvements. We're going to have more data from Max with some handy-dandy graphs to show off maybe on Friday to talk more in detail about like the things that we've done and the things that are getting better. But I wanted to kind of reassure you all that matchmaking is continuing to be a focus for us, and we are making improvements. One stat that I have, this is a real stat. This is not me making things up. In ranked, on March 12th, which was earlier this week before we got these changes out, about 40% of matches were within a 100 SR difference between the team. On March 18th, that went up to 80%.
That's awesome.
So we have, from 40% to 80% of matches are within 100 SR difference between the teams. And there's a lot of things that we're changing and we're continuing to experiment with on the background, right? Like we're still not done. But I want people to know that like, if you're feeling like your matchmaking is getting better, it probably is because we've made a couple of real big breakthroughs this week. So we'll talk more about that on Friday, most likely. But I wanted to just people keep asking about matchmaking, wanted to mention it. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is movement stuff. I've mentioned we talked about on Monday that we continue to look into kind of some core movement things about the game, and we've been playtesting internally a total like code overhaul to movement, which feels tremendously better and more responsive 90% of the time. Yeah. We still have a few rough edges to work on. Not me, the programmers. The programmers are much better than me at this stuff. The programmers are working on a few rough edges still, but that is still moving forward really well. Yeah. We played it on Monday. It had some rough stuff. We played it this morning. It felt a lot better. So I would expect that sometime soon we will be flash testing this movement test. It won't be on live servers just because of the nature of how it works. Yeah. And it will probably even be on like an old version of Balance without all the gods, because we're not doing this in our main branch of the game. Like you have multiple separate like copies of the code when you're making a program, and we don't want to mess up the main game. So we're doing this in like a separate branch right now. But in terms of like feels, we continue to be focused on that. We think this is going to make a big improvement when it ships, and I hope that we can share that with you more soon. So I think that like the best way I can say is it heavier movement feeling or more lightweight? I think the big thing is that it feels more responsive with this change. And there's a bunch of other things that we're looking at in terms of the like heavy, lightweight feels or the snappiness of certain things that Pawn has dived really deep on. And he's going to be on the show on Friday.
Yeah.
Isaiah won't because Isaiah's got things to do. But Isaiah and I, or Pawn and I on Friday can probably dive more into some of the stuff that he's working on that front. In addition to full patch notes with balance will be covered on Friday. So if you're curious about all the balance, there's a lot of stuff going into this update. Pawn will be here to talk through it on Friday along with the full update notes. So that was everything I wanted to talk about.
Cool.
That's my preamble. Hopefully that all sounds interesting to everybody. Hopefully y'all are excited about what we're working on. And you want to show off some of the stuff?
I know, right? We just had a few updates. We did show off the Stumbleblade Susano skin on Monday, but we weren't able to go in game. But since the skins are in a better state today and will be on for the flash test, we wanted to just quickly go in game and show off the Susano skin. I will bring up the handy dandy laptop and I will show off first this kind of new home screen treatment, which is really cool.
Yeah. So we got the feedback that we stuck on the Aladdin home screen for way too long. So we are we're trying to update the home screen with every update so that it feels more fun. As you can tell, the grass is not textured. This is still a work in progress, guys. Patch isn't live yet, but we want to make it feel more like every time you log into the game, it's something new, right? And actually, can you log out? Can you go back to the login screen?
Yeah. 1 second.
You also... so when you go to the login screen, you're going to get you're going to see Merlin. Too.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that it just feels a little bit more updated every time that you hit the game after an update.
Yeah. I'll log back in.
Yeah. Sorry to make you log out.
No, you're good. You're good. Let's pull up Susano. I have him pinned.
This person typed, "Oh hi Merlin," and it makes me think of, "Oh hi Mark."
And let's go in game and show off the Susano skin. Title manual build. No combat blink because that test is live in PTS and should hopefully be hitting live servers in a little bit. I will, let's see, set myself to level 20 and we'll do a couple of Ymir bots here. And we can show off some of the cool new visual effects. There we go. Cool. So we got the one. Looking really cool. I love the treatments on the it's kind of like it's in that Toon theme, but the wind is like super cool. It looks sick.
It's neat. I think the FX team did a good job. And then one thing that's interesting about these prisms, right, is that the FX will also change colors based on what prism you have, right? So if you leave and pick a different prism, the FX are going to be, differently colored.
Right.
So. I'm like the world player.
Double kill.
Sweet. Well, that is Stumbleblade Susano. Should I choose a prism and show off how the effects are?
Let's let chat pick a color.
Yeah, 1 second.
I don't know if we need to go through all of them right now. Like, I don't want to spend the whole show being like, hey, let's look at the things to buy. But
let's see here. Load out.
Okay.
All right. Which one you want? Copper, amethyst, or crimson? Chat. What do you want to see?
What do we say? Red, blonde, purple, red and white, crimson, amethyst. So it's amethyst or crimson. I'm gonna let you pick.
Let's do amethyst.
Amethyst. Okay.
Let's see here.
Yeah, and I am 99% sure that these effects are in. So please don't mad at me if they aren't actually changed.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh yeah, there we go.
So yeah, it's the same basic style of effects, right? But they are now this kind of purple color scheme to go with.
Oh yeah, it's looking good. Oh, it looks sick.
Can you, Chad, let's hear his voice pack a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you can't do.
Oh yeah.
You can do like
attack left lane.
Yeah.
Attack right tower. You're the star of the show.
Do a time.
That was almost a challenge.
Give me a joke.
Almost. What does a storm god wear under his kimono? Thunderwear.
Oh my gosh.
jeez. Okay.
Who wrote the voice pack? Come on.
I'm glad that we did that. That was
Oh, sweet. Well, that is pretty much all that we've got for in-game. And I know we took up a bulk of the time on Monday's show just going over all the cool OB6 content. So we figured that we'd leave the bulk of this show for community Q&A.
Yeah, and any patch notes are going to be on Friday, and then the patch will go live on Monday. And if you want to play it, you can log into PTS today. As soon as this show's done, from 2 to 4 p.m., the Conquest key will be enabled. And then all night, we're going to leave the servers up for PTS to where you can log in and do customs or jump into jungle practice.
Yep. Cool. All right, chat. What do y'all want to talk about today?
I didn't hear it specifically mentioned. Can you click the relic slot to go to relics yet? I think so. Those are for consumables. Yeah. Yeah, looks nice working.
I wonder if it's because I already have beads.
Yeah, that might be an issue.
Yeah.
I will look into that. I have seen your messages asking me for prisms for Zeus tier 5. I think that we have been generally enthused by the initial reaction to prisms, and we've been talking about how we can do things to add more prisms to the game in interesting ways. I can't promise that we're going to do Zeus tier 5 prisms, but we are, people seem like they're excited about prisms, so we're going to keep talking about the things that we can do best. Any plans to add multi-match queuing? So that's something that we could theoretically do, but we really need a new. Can you actually just pull up the queue screen?
Yeah.
This queue screen, which it's going to be much less overwhelming than normal because it's PTS and there's only a few. But this queue screen is like super duper temp, right? Like this was. This is like not intended to be our final queue screen. This is something that we just needed a way to select queues, right? But we think there's a lot of things that are wrong with this screen. One of the big things is that we put way too much focus on custom games when very few people interact with the game in that way. The way that it's sorted when you have more than 3 lobbies like we have right now, it's very hard to find what you actually want to play. And there's no way to like select multi queues, right? So it's something that we could theoretically do in the future, but I think it will probably come, if it does come, with the overhaul of this screen. How does the ban and punishment system work? How can people leave games, AFK, rage, and insult people without anything happening? So the biggest problem with the system right now is that we aren't telling you that anything is happening. We are punishing people. They are being banned. And we've actually continue to improve our automated systems to do that. We should get Tony on one day to talk about.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So we've got a whole bunch of like interesting tech running in the background that is, cracking down on some of this. I'm not going to say we're perfect yet by any means. Right. But, the big thing is that you don't see when somebody that you have played with that was an asshole has been banned because they were an asshole. So, we need to get that in there. It just hasn't been a top priority. But I think that like it's one of those things that would help build faith that we are doing the things.
Yeah.
Is there any plan to add pre-build? I assume that you're talking about basically having like I can do my own custom build for a god that with the items that I want to build. We are working on that system. It is still a little ways out, but it's going to be a much more comprehensive system than it was in Smite 1, to where you actually can share builds and you can see other people's builds that they've chosen to share. So, if Zapman posts a hunter build, you could use Zapman's Rama build when you play Rama. So I think that it will be a much better system overall that will help onboard people to the game, but we just aren't quite done with it yet. Still a little ways out. Are we going to add CC buffering back onto leaps? I noticed I much preferred it when it was in the game versus it wasn't. Currently, we believe that the community prefers not having it on leaps. I agree with you that I think it felt better for the game, but people did not like how it affected the flow of fights. I think that, mobility is the most powerful thing in Smite. Always has been, right? And there is a lot of mobility by default in Smite.
Yeah.
Our gods have a lot of, multiple gods have multiple movement abilities. Just in generally, you move pretty fast in Smite. Like, it may not feel like it, but if you compare it with other similar games, you move pretty quickly. And, we also had Blink on top of it until this test right now, right? And it can be very difficult to finish kills if people can get away too easily. I agree it felt good from the perspective of the person who was jumping, but from the person who felt like they should have caught the person who jumped, it did not feel as good. Oh no, I've lost my chat. Okay. So for right now, the reason that it had CC buffering removed was to make people feel like their kills aren't unfairly taken away from them, right? And I think that, like, to some extent, that's some of the feedback we've been hearing around Blink, which is why we wanted to test. Let's turn it off and let's see if people say, once the initial shock goes away, if people say, oh, this actually feels better, but I'm missing this specific thing, right? Like, this is not me saying that we could technically even do this right now, but I'm just live designing, which is always a horrible idea, right? But like, if you're like, the reason why I like combat blink is I like being able to blink once I've pulled people with Ares to be able to drag them further, or basically like I'm blinking while I'm channeling my Emerald, right? Like, what if there was a blink that you could only use while you were using other abilities? Again, I don't know if that's technically possible, but like, is that more interesting than the way it works right now, right? Like, I think that there are fun things that we can do with the system that would lead to potentially better play patterns.
Right.
But we need to hear from you what feels good and what doesn't feel good about this change. A lot of assault map discourse. We're continuing to, look at and work on that. I don't have an ETA on it. Reddit at one point, I brought this up on a different show, but I'm going to say it again. Reddit said at one point, like, oh yeah, you can just like build a new assault map in a day. It is not that quick to do level design and environment art stuff. It is a time-consuming process, and we understand that the community really wants a wider assault map. We really want a wider assault map. It just is one of those things that takes a little time, and the alternative was not getting that in sooner. It was not having assault at all until we get to a wider map.
Philonos asked, I really like the idea of prisms, but how much can we expect? Are there only color changes, or are texture or even small model changes in the cards?
I think that for right now, at least, it's mostly color change. I think they can do some texture changes, because I think it's really like the way it works is it changes the materials.
Okay, cool.
So like, and a material is like the skin, right? So the skin of the skin. So it's like it can change, I believe, the texture in terms of like the patterns, and it can change the colors. And it can also add like glows and effects and stuff to it. But it can, the way it works right now, at least, I don't believe it can add like horns to a, additional physical elements to the skin. It'd probably be relatively easy to do that, but it just, once you reach a certain point, it's like, should that just be a different skin? So I think that like, we can look at that for the future, but for right now, it's mostly material changes.
Yeah, cool. Camilla asked, how come the speed camp didn't get love in OB6?
We did as much as we could in OB6. I think that they are working on something in the background for the speed camp. I don't know if it'll be in OB7 or OB8 or, but when assets get done, we're putting them into the game rather than just sitting on them.
Right, yeah.
So we could have just kept sitting on it and you didn't get any conquest updates until mid-season and there was a bigger pass. But we feel like for where we are as a game, the correct path is a path of continual improvement.
Yeah.
And we hope that you guys feel this continual improvement, because every day, but like every 2 weeks we're shipping really big, meaningful improvements to the game, right? It's not just here's a new god, right? It's like, here are new features. Here are things that we're missing in terms of gameplay feel. We're making big balance sweeps. So our whole strategy is not we're going to go radio silence for 3 months and then we're going to come back with, we fixed it, guys. It's, you're going to see live as we're continuing to make the game better and better. And our goal is to get to the point where, nobody can look at the game and say anything but, this is great, right? Yeah. We know that we still have work to do, but we think it's better to build it in public with the community than to sit in silence.
Can we get a tentative release map for the rest of the gods? I've heard nothing from my 3 mains, which is kind of frustrating. I know plans change, but some idea is better than the black box they are in.
So we have said the next gods out through our next all new gods.
Yes.
Which are
Cerberus, Merlin, which is coming on Monday.
Guan Yu,
Kali,
Apollo.
Yeah.
And I might have the order slightly wrong on a couple of those, but those are the next wave of gods. We could share a longer roadmap of gods, but I think the community has a really hard time, and maybe not you in particular, I'm not calling you out, but the community has a hard time with understanding like things can change. And then whenever things do change, they're inevitably like mad or upset or disappointed in some way because they had come to believe that this would be the thing, even if we said repeatedly plans change.
Yeah.
Right. So we think it's better to have I did get it right. Look at me. We think it's better to have a shorter term, more concrete plan than a longer term things can change plan. So, and from the community side, you see this a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely, it helps to also keep the community a little bit more focused on, what's coming in versus giving everyone a long list. And it helps with hype building too, right?
And I know that like whenever I post anything, I get, it doesn't even have to be related to Smite. I get, where's this god? Where's this god? Right. And I understand like everybody has a main, that they missed from Smite 1. That percentage is going down every week, right? Like we have 52 gods now? 52 gods in Smite 2. And three of them are all new.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm trying to do the math in my head live, which is never a good thing.
No, 4.
4?
Yeah.
4.
Mordred, Hecate, Aladdin, and Princess Bari.
Bari. Yes. I forgot. Yeah. I was like, who am I missing? So, and 4 are all new. So like that's 48 of the 130 that are over already. So we're making pretty good progress. It's not like we have everybody, but we're continuing to go pretty quickly. And hopefully like as the days go on, fewer and fewer people will be like, well, I'm not going to play until I've been getting a lot of Bastet enjoyers in my DMs recently.
I haven't heard Bastet yet, but yeah.
The 3 of them are in my DMs. No, I'm joking. But yeah, I know that like if you love somebody, you want to see them in Smite 2 sooner than later.
Yeah.
But we're continuing to focus on, I guess, back up one thing. We had the discussions internally of like, we could go faster on gods and do nothing else, right? But I don't think that is the right path for the game, right? I think that once you guys feel the movement changes that we're working on, once you guys feel see the God Builder and the things that we are pushing out every update, the HUD editor, right? All of these things are possible because we are going at a pace that allows us to also do these other things. If we went any faster, gods would be the only thing that we could do. And if we only do gods, then that's not going to make the game great. Any matchmaking updates for ranked soon? You missed my little...
Yeah, we had a small matchmaking update at the top of the show.
Yeah, so the small update I gave at the top of the show, and I will repeat it again for people that join us a little bit late. So we've been pushing out a lot of matchmaking updates in the background over the past few weeks, and we've made some kind of pretty significant improvements over the past week in general. I will have more details to share on Friday, hopefully, along with some graphs, maybe on Monday. But the one stat that I have in front of me is that on March 12th, only 40% of ranked matches were within 100 SR between the teams in terms of the teams being balanced. And on March 18th, it was up to 80% with the changes that we've made. So we've drastically improved the balance between teams in ranked over the past week. So if you haven't played in the last day or so, let me know.
Yeah. Have we thought about bringing the relic upgrade system back into Smite 2? Having a base relic that is upgradable to increase its efficiency, or having other options through out of the game can solve a lot of issues with one relic or Blink not feeling great.
I think it's something we've talked about, but I think that it's just not been our focus right now. I will say also this is less of an issue for people watching in chat, but like people do not remember to upgrade their Blink or their relic ever in Smite 1 until you get to I've played this game for 100 hours, right? I think it's a somewhat unintuitive thing to have to go back and upgrade something that you're done with. I think it's kind of okay for starters, but even that I would rather if they just kind of automatically upgrade it. Yeah. But I think it would just be hard to balance around that. So it's something that we continue to talk about. It's not on our short-term roadmap, I don't think, unless Pawn has done something magical over the past few days. But I think we are aware that like there are certain things that certain relics did when they branched out that people found interesting.
Yeah.
Any new chest next update? Also, Wandering Market spoilers anytime soon. The
Susano skin is in a new chest for Smite 2.
Yeah, or you can direct purchase it. Right. It's like everything we've done recently. It's up to you if you want to roll the chest or get a direct purchase. And then the next Wandering Market, I believe, is in OB7.
Yep. So not the update on Monday, but the update after that.
Yeah. So 2 weeks from Monday, you'll have a new
Wandering Market. Should be getting some
Market.
spoilers and some previews for that pretty soon on Titan Talk.
It's I think it's a really fun theme.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. Any thoughts on removing the lane teleporters or changing how they work? I would say not right now. We've been pretty overwhelmingly pleased with how they've helped the flow of the game. And generally speaking, players seem like they really like them. There was a little bit of skepticism when we first announced it. But then once people played with them, they were like, oh, these are really great. So we have not put a lot of additional... obviously we think about how they impact the game, but we haven't been thinking about changing them too much.
Yeah. Someone said, please tell me the next Wandering Market isn't food. It is not food, but we're not going to spoil the full theme here. When more core features are fleshed out, would you consider ramping up Godspeed?
Never say never. I think that like the thing that we saw in Smite 1, though, is that even when we were in year 10, people were still wanting new features at a pretty regular rate, so I'm not saying like the good thing about the way that we approach our development is that we are very flexible and we are not set in stone. We know how to, we've run a lot of live service games. We kind of know the way that you have to approach it. Yeah. And we're always going to prioritize the thing that we think is best for the game at a given moment. Right now, the thing that's best for the game, we think, is addressing some of these core, systems level things. At some point in the future, that might change, and we say, hey, the most important thing is just to go back to we're all in on gods for 6 months, and we'll get in as many as we can, and then we'll reassess and say what's the next 6 months, right? But for right now, we think that this is the right focus.
Will there be any event on April Fools? I believe we are planning something fun for April Fools, so something to look forward to.
I think there's actually 2 events in the next update.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah, I think there's an event the first weekend and the second weekend. So no spoilies, but because I don't know, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. Any chance we can get patch notes before the day the patch comes out? Yes, you will be getting patch notes on Friday this week. So watch Friday's Titan Talk with me and Pawn, and we will go through the patch notes. And we'll also post them on the website if you don't want to listen to us babble. The last time was just a little bit of a rush to get everything together, but we should have everything together for Friday this time. No, I think that Erendite is working as intended. It was supposed to proc if it hit anybody. So it needs to either reveal somebody or hit somebody, which it does reveal them. It's just they're revealed, but they're already not stealthed.
Can we display Wandering Market coins on the main screen and not just gems? I'm not sure if we have enough UI real estate underneath the character name, but that's good feedback.
Yeah, I didn't realize it wasn't there. I probably should have. That's good feedback. Because what's the other currency we show?
So we show
legacy
diamonds
gems.
and legacy gems here. If you go to the Wandering Market screen, they do show on this page, but not on the
Is
home
it God
page.
tokens? Is the other thing that we show? on that
God
screen? Yeah,
tokens.
okay.
That might be,
Yeah, it might be related to that. I will ask though. Any God Builder updates? We talked about it very briefly, but still work in progress. Not going to be in OB6 or most likely in OB7. I would say, maybe OB8 at the earliest when it starts to ship. I reported that Q-Pop sound not playing on Xbox to our audio team, and I believe they were looking into that. That was a previous report. When does Merlin release? On Monday. OB6 is Monday. Wandering Market titles are still bugged on console. Are you a non-English language player? Because there was a translation issue with them. So basically, the next time it gets a full build with the translation fix, it will be updated.
Are we going to get more new skins for new gods or focus more on old gods and classic skins?
I think we're trying to do a mix of both, right? I think that part of the thing that's, we still have a backlog of the cross-gen skins that we need to finish up and bring over. So, and we want to make sure that, like, if you gave us money in the past, you aren't waiting too long. We already feel like you've waited too long, honestly, because our intent was to bring all those over much sooner, but then we paused all skin development to move faster on gods for a period of time. So we really need to get all the cross gens over. We also feel like we need to continue to bring over some number of classic skins so that you feel like you can spend your legacy gems on things that provide value to you. And then we are trying to ship kind of at least one all new skin every update. It probably won't be every update, but this update we have the Tomb Blade Susano. Last update we had the Ninja Aladdin Silent Strike,
Silent Wish.
Yeah, close.
In the Silent Strike chest. You had it right.
See, I was like, I feel like Silent Strike was the name of the thing. I know you said you were having issues with King Arthur. Is he still causing issues while trying to program him, or is he almost done, just not in the immediate future? I'm not trying to pry for a time. I'm just interested in what makes gods harder, easier to port. So King Arthur in particular is a difficult god because he has... There's kind of two reasons. The first reason is the way that his basic attacks work. So he does not basic attack like any other god in Smite. He has unique tech that basically does like... it's called a root motion animation where if there's somebody in front of him, he will kind of automatically home in on that person to attack them, unless he's walking backwards. There's a lot of specific things about how it works. And that is a new piece of tech that we do not have in Smite 2. And it's actually a very complicated piece of tech to get it to feel good and to consistently work right. And that was one of the bigger tech challenges for King Arthur on Smite 1. The other part of King Arthur being a difficult god, so that's more on the programming side and a little bit on the design side. The other part that makes him more difficult is that he is a unique stance switcher who doesn't work like any of our other stance switchers that we have right now, where he kind of automatically switches stances every ability. Each ability has its own really complicated animation and effects, and so that requires additional work from the animation and effects teams to bring over and to update. And then his ult also has some very weird, unique multi-stage targeting stuff to it to be able to hit people and then take them up into the sky and yada yada. Maybe we could reuse some of Mordred's ult to make that work, but he just has a lot of unique, hard to do stuff on him. And so he's just kind of continually gotten bumped back. He's been supposed to ship 3 times already. There's still, we haven't actually done that much on him in Smite 2, but we understand the challenges and we understand that players love him. I think we've said that that we were going to try and get to him this year. I think he has like a Divine Legacy skin.
Yes,
right?
he does.
Yeah. So the goal is still to get to him this year, but it's just not in this next wave. That's an interesting one. Godlike accolade and announcement. Is that not playing? I will pass that along. Can I pay Pon $10,000 to get King Arthur back? I do not advocate bribing the designers.
Yes.
And this is, like, as I was kind of hinting at, it's one of those things that, like, it's not just one department, right? Like, you know, there are a very small number of us that come on this show because it is, to some extent, it's scary to, you know, put yourself out there and become kind of a face of the thing and get blamed when things go wrong and yada, yada. And also some people are just not comfortable with public speaking, right? Some people are, like really nervous before going on the show. Kellen told us he was really nervous before he came on the show. He did a great job.
Did great, yeah.
But it's not easy to put yourself out there, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people that work in games are relatively quiet people who just love video games, right? They so, you know, there are still a lot of people that work at this studio that work in all of the very many departments that you need to make a video game. And sometimes a lot of the times, the thing that is holding something back from getting done has nothing to do with any of the people that you see on this show, right? It's it's in rigging, it's in tech art, it's in, you know, there's so many different people that, you know, I would love to bring more people on the show and like expose you all to more of the team, but it's just hard to, I don't want to force people to do something they don't want to do. So.
You saw one, right? It's the same time as me.
I see that Max is in chat, and I'm going to say, Max, you should have responded to my Slack message this morning instead of being in the show chat.
Oh, you're going to put him on blast live? Oh, man.
But yes, we should get the Fortnite bush instead of Blink. That's a great idea. It's a reason why you are not a designer. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
I forgot what my question was. I missed it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had
you're good. You're good.
Oh, I'm sorry you have a headache. I feel bad now, Max.
Can we block Obsidian Dagger usage while in Soul Disapparate? I was spamming the button to get my revive as soon as it ended, and I used the dagger while I was damage immune, resulting in no revive.
We would probably do it so you couldn't use it while damage immune.
Yeah. Because can you use the dagger while you're in Aegis? That's a good question.
No, because you're silenced while you're
Aegis. That's true. Yep.
But there's probably other damage immune things that's a good call.
Yeah.
We do know that Thanatos' mastery skin art and some of there's like 3 gods that
are using renders instead of the card art.
Yeah, for the mastery skins in particular. We're going to get those updated. I'm not sure if it's an OB6 or later, but
I know I did see Ben talking to somebody about it in our internal channels. I have a glitch that kicks me from my party and then puts me in a random party with random people with invite sent. I know we've been doing some friend work, so it's very possible.
So we have in the background we fixed a lot of we fixed some issues with the friends tab, and we should have actually quite a few more fixes coming in OB6. I can't say for sure if it's that one, but that is an interesting one.
Oh yeah, good call out for Kali. Could she dagger while ulting? That's a good thing.
That is
while we're working on Kali, we can keep that in mind.
Or should you be able to? So Bari ult does stop you from resetting with Obsidian Dagger. So yeah, it might just be Soul has like a weird edge case, but it's good notes.
Thoughts on letting us see mastery level / buy ascension passes on the God Select screen?
We've had this discussion. It just is further down the to-do list, but yes, we have talked about it. What do you think about crediting the God designer on the God page, or even being able to filter gods by designer? I think it would be hard to do because so many people touch a god.
It's such a collaborative effort, right?
It really is, right? Like, there's obviously there is a lead designer on every god's initial design, and then on every god as they are brought over from Smite 1 to Smite 2. But I think, and I definitely, I'm not saying this because I don't want to like respect the work of those people, right? Because, you know, they obviously put a lot into it, but like, why should we specifically call out the god designer and not the person who designed the model and the person who did the FX and the person who did the voice acting, right? Like, I think that it's really easy to get down a rabbit hole of like, we need credits for every god, which maybe we should,
Yeah.
but I think that would be really, really difficult to get to. Yeah. Credit screen win. I think we actually do have a credit screen on the escape menu.
Yeah, we do.
That
Yeah.
Dale hacked in. So, yeah.
When we removed the viewer store in Smite 1, we removed an easy way to watch Smite Twitch on TV. I understand I can use the Twitch app, but are y'all going to add anything like that to Smite 2?
Oh, basically like embed the stream within Smite 2. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. Because I was going to say, I know we have drops enabled for Smite 2 with Wandering Market coins that run every week.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I would. This is something that Stu's actually brought up at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like we looked into it and there was some tech thing that it just wouldn't work quickly and it was going to take some work to get back to. So at some point we'll probably do that.
will custom matches get some love with more options? Also, when we choose multiple of the same gods on our team, stuff like that, like match of the day options for
Right.
custom games.
Yeah, match of the day stuff. We've done a little bit of work on some of those. I think that we, I think that there are. We want to get some match of the day stuff in. I don't have like an ETA on it, but yeah, we want to have some more kind of silly game modes.
Yeah.
They'll probably come in as more of like, not every single day there's a match of the day, but maybe we run a match of the day as a weekend event, kind
Right.
of thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write a note of that though. I should ask, see how some of that stuff is going.
Will there be an update where we just release a bunch of skins? I feel like most of the gods aren't receiving much love for skins.
No, I don't think so. I think that we believe that there needs to be a balance between gameplay and cosmetics.
Yeah.
We obviously need to sell things in order to make money and continue to be a business. But we also know that we need people to want to keep playing.
Yeah.
And I think that at this point in the game's life cycle, it's more important to keep adding more gameplay improvements, new gods, than it is to just pause all that and put a bunch of skins out. Can we get patch notes in game? We have talked about this in the past. It's one of those things that we will maybe get around to eventually. It just adds an additional thing to update. And the problem is that normally, like at the time that we branch for an update, we don't have the patch notes done. So we would have to integrate them post branch. We would not be able to translate them because it's too late in the cycle to be able to get them through translation. And then you're pissing off people that aren't English speakers. And, there's pros and cons to it. We do link out to the website, though, I believe. So I know it's maybe not ideal, but there are web browsers on, I know at least on the Xbox there's a web browser. I've never tried to use a web browser on PS5.
I'm pretty sure PlayStation does have a web browser. Yeah.
So you can at least click out to read them, but I can understand the appeal of having it in game.
Yeah. Can we know the next cosmetic that's coming back from Smite 1? I'm hoping it's recall skins.
I don't think it's recall skins. I want to say it might be ward skins.
Yeah, we have talked about ward skins on the show
I think there might be a ward skin in the next Wandering Market. So there's your Wandering Market teaser.
There you go.
Something fun. Who is the best user in the feedback Discord and why is it me? That's very, it's a good question.
Right.
I couldn't answer why you're so amazing. I've heard this feedback about Bari getting a loud sound cue the moment that she enters spirit mode. I passed that along to Kalani, or not to Kalani, to Kellen, and I think he was going to look at it. No promise that it's going to be in OB6 or anytime soon, but something he said he would look at.
Let's see. Weekend showed off 2 fights in Smite 1 and 2, saying Smite 1 feels more snappy. Is that the direction you guys want to head in?
I would say we take feedback from a lot of sources. I would say that some of the things that we've watched the video, we watch most videos that are talking about the state of the game, right? I think that some of the things that he identified are things that we have been saying internally for a while. And, there were a couple other observations that I don't know if we completely agree with, but I think that there were some things that are, are spot on, right?
Yeah.
Like there are things that we feel like we need to make better about the core movement and feels of the game. And it's been on our to-do list for a while. I've been working on a lot of stuff in the background. This movement stuff that I kind of talked about a little bit at Kellen plus Alani equals Kalani. That's what I read something said Alani. Sorry, I got straight. I mentioned the movement test that we're doing at the top of the show. I think that once that ships, you'll be like, oh, I didn't realize what I was missing. Right. But we think a lot about this stuff, and we do appreciate it when content creators take the time to go through and point out the things that they're noticing, because sometimes there is something they notice that we don't.
Absolutely.
But this time I think that most of it aligned with what we had felt and had
what
already
we've
been
been
talking
working on,
about and working on, with a couple different observations that we're still kind of parsing through. So I wouldn't say we're going to do everything that everything that Weekend said. We aren't trying to, we don't just do the things that the community says all the time. But we do listen to the community and try and interpret that into what we think is best for gameplay design. Who is the best Smite player among high-res employees? Be honest. I think Pon is probably the person who runs the playtest most often. It's Pon and Clumsy are usually the two best in the playtests right now. Pon was like a pro Smite player in like the very early days of Smite, if y'all don't remember. So he is a very good Smite player. I think Kellen was looking into the From the Nether music pack. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier this week. Are we planning on adding, when you fully stack Prophetic or Book of Thoth, that it shows the new value of the item? I want to see the actual number when looking at the item in my item bar.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about it.
You can definitely pass that feedback along. Yeah.
Spoil the gods in the next Wandering Market. Wait a week. We'll
Yeah,
talk about that. Let us get through OB6 before we start talking too much about OB7 stuff.
Can we have the exact numbers on aspects in game? A lot of them are very vague, like X ability does more damage. Yes, I was actually talking to Clumsy about this a little bit earlier this week. It's on his list and the design team's list to kind of go through and do another pass, specifically just to get you a little bit more info on the God page whenever you're looking at aspects, just to get an idea of what they actually do.
Loki aspect is so bad. Please rework. I think Loki's aspect is probably one of the more underwhelming ones. I think that the funny thing is that, like, just from like a theory crafting perspective, it was probably one of the ones we were most concerned about when we were first coming up with this system. Because like, man, just making somebody else invisible, that sounds super OP, but harder
requires
to play
a lot
around
of teamwork,
practice,
right? Yeah.
So we definitely see your feedback on certain aspects being underwhelming or overwhelming. Travis actually just got some really cool new data, a new way of looking at like win rate by aspect, which we had before, but he like sliced that data in a different way that revealed some more things about aspects than we previously had access to. So I'm not sure what all balance Pon and the crew are cooking up for that, but we definitely are looking at all the aspects. Yeah, it sounds really cool and broken, but it's not practical. Yeah, I think we were more concerned with how it sounded, and we were like scared of what could happen versus what actually would. What percentage of games, or which proportion of games, reach 3K pot territory? And are there goals for how high that proportion should be? I don't know if we have specific goals, but I do think that we don't want people to feel like the traditional scaling is over too soon, right? It should be a late game kind of thing. And I think that in this most recent update, we've done a lot to improve that. If you notice the way the pacing has changed, like most games are ending before people are buying a lot of pots. Like maybe you buy one pot at the end of the game or something. So we think that's more healthy. But we continue to work on that kind of thing. Can we bundle mastery skins on the skin page like the new Prism skins? So only having one skin card with different versions to select. I don't know if we could the way that it's technically set up because they weren't built to make use of that system. And the other thing is that the masteries do all have unique like card art treatment where the Prisms do not. They just use the basic card art for the collection. So there are some differences between them. Ivan the Blonde, I'm going to write down your bugs and pass them along.
Cool.
Actually, I'm going to take a picture because it's more text than I want to write down right now. Oh, selfie. That's always frustrating.
Yeah. Any talk on having a different god icon in game for reaching Mastery 10 or a star? Kind of like how Marvel Rivals does it.
I mean, I'm not exactly familiar with how Marvel Rivals does it.
So,
but
basically, whenever you reach a character to a certain mastery level, the god portrait square is a different piece of art.
Oh, I mean, we could, I guess, but we already have the big kind of mastery badge that updates, and I think that that's meant to be the main area of, like showing off your mastery, right? Any plans to update the community resource bank?
We did a big pass earlier this week. What are you looking for in particular? We can definitely take a look. We uploaded a lot of missing god ability icons. We uploaded lots of splash art for some gods and skins. Some items have been uploaded there. So yeah, just let us know what's missing, and we can see what we can do.
Can T3 limited skins come to Smite 2 as legacy skins? Theoretically, yes. I think that if there's something that we think is cool that we can bring over, then yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it's starting to get late in the show. People wanting a line check.
Yeah. We are both on the cherry twist train. We got a restock in the office.
Yeah. No more pink slush. I'm very excited about that. Also, tweeted Alani, tell him that, you want to crossover.
There you go. Yeah.
You want something in Smite. We'd love to do it.
Is there any talk about being able? Well, we already talked about upgrading relics a little bit earlier in the show, maybe about 20 minutes in the VOD if you want to go back.
Pressing middle button cancels queue in Xbox. Can we address this issue? This is currently design intent. If the console community would like this to change, please voice that loudly that you would like it to change. The concern is that if we don't do that, it leads to more matches failing because people are not actually there to accept the match, or to, like, they get into the lobby and then they don't pick a god and then the match fails. So that's the problem that we have, is where it's like, because we can't tell, basically once you push the middle mouse button, or not middle mouse button, the Xbox
Xbox
you pull up the guide, we don't know what happens to you. So from our perspective, you could go leave the game and we wouldn't know. In Smite 1, we didn't do this, and this actually led to a lot of failed lobbies because people tabbed out of the game while they were in queue, basically. So that's the reason why it's not that way. I understand the party stuff, and it seems like most people would like it to change in chat. I need something I can pass along to the designers to show them with more concrete that this is how people feel. So maybe like make a Reddit thread and try and get some people to upvote it. I know this sounds like I've had this discussion with them a lot of times, and they strongly believe that this is the better path for the game. So if you guys want us to go in a different direction, I need something more than 3 people in Titan Talk chat telling me that we should make this kind of bigger change.
Cool. Well, we are at 2 p.m., so it's time for one more question.
Oh my God, I was reading chat.
Kilgoon,
oh my God. Oh jeez.
My day is ruined.
I'm sorry. I was reading chat. Oh no.
Oh man, it's all good.
Isaiah, I've ruined it.
It's all good. You'll make it up, on Friday.
No, I won't, because you won't be here.
Oh, this is true. Dang it.
I only get 2 times to do it with you.
Oh man.
Can we try one?
Yeah. Okay.
It's time for
one more question. There we go.
Yes,
That's a lot better.
Okay. That was awful. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Vafi, we've got some wallpapers in the community resource bank for the most recent updates. So take a look, and we should have like the Bari wallpapers, the new skin wallpapers. All those should be there.
We need one more question, merch. That reminds me of our new community merch thing we're going to be rolling out.
Oh yeah,
right?
we could talk about that.
Yeah. So pretty soon here, we are going to be rolling out a what's the official thing called?
Community merch creation license or something like that.
Yeah.
I forget the exact legal term for it, but it's cool.
Basically, if anybody in the community wants to make Smite 2 merch, you will have a license to be able to do that and sell it.
Yep.
As long as you make less than like, I don't know, like $1,000 off of it, something like that. So if you want to, make some cool fan art of gods and put it up, if you want to make a one more question,
make
shirt,
T-shirts,
whatever, you can do that.
Yeah.
Once we get this license published, which will probably be in the next week or so, I'd say. So we feel like there's a lot of cool, there's a lot of good artists out in the community. There's a lot of people that have wanted to make cool merch. Merch has never really been like a money-making endeavor for us. And we just thought it would be cool to like hand it over more to the community to be like, we see a lot of people post things on places, and we have to then hunt them down for copyright situations. We're like, it'd be better if we just like let you guys do this. So we do not own the rights to Alani, so you cannot make an Alani check t-shirt. That's not allowed.
Yeah, sorry.
Comic Con is arriving to my city. Can I sell Smite pins there? Probably under the terms of this license, but read it. Yeah, we just want to let the community do cool stuff. It's pretty easy.
Let's see here. When making a god, how much consideration is put into their skill floor / cap on mouse and keyboard versus controller? How does that side of the design process look like?
I would say that we do think about like how gods feel on both platforms, but we generally don't like dumb a god down for a controller. The only time it really comes into consideration is if there's something that's just like physically impossible to do with the button scheme on controller. And sometimes then we just have to think of like a different way of doing it on controller. But no, I think that, I know there's a lot of people that like to hate on controller players, but like good controller players can keep up with
this is very true.
All but the highest of high-end keyboard and mouse players, right? So I don't think it's, it's something that we really are too concerned about. It's one of the reasons why we joined the queues, because people complain about it, but like the skill levels are actually very similar between the platforms. Once you factor in like what your actual like MMR or SR is, right? It's like, sure, if we match like a brand new player of both platforms, maybe there's a slight difference because of the input. But like once we understand what your skill level is what it is, regardless of the platform. The license does not cost money. It is just the merch license. Yeah, it's just like the only reason the license exists is so that there's some kind of legal representation that says you can do this, and sets some restrictions around it. Basically, like you can't make like things that would hurt the brand.
Not safe for work stuff. Yeah.
I was trying to think of how to say that in a way that wasn't. None of that. Yeah. But as long as it's like, within the realm of reason, you're pretty much allowed to do it as long as you don't make more than a certain amount of money.
Right.
And if you make more than a certain amount of money, you just have to talk to us, and then, we would probably sign something that says we'll share proceeds going forward. Can we make use of the license outside the U.S.? Probably. I don't know. I have to look at it. I think my guess is there are certain countries that you can't use it in because of that country's laws. But generally speaking, when we write these things, we try and make it as widespread as possible. Yeah. I know like Italy has really weird rules around contests. So whenever we do a giveaway, we can't include Italian citizens in it, which is a weird niche of their legal system. But anyway, sorry. I should answer an actual question because now I'm just talking about this. There will be a Titan Talk on Friday, which is the patch notes. And then we'll do another one on Monday with the update having gone live to take your questions. And I need to pick one more question. Oh, no. Are we good? I'll let you this one, just because it's quick. Are we going to get another fantastic slideshow on Friday? The last one was very entertaining. I love making slideshows. It's my true passion in life. But no slideshow on Friday. We'll just go through the written patch notes and talk through all the balance changes and everything like that. So something fun to tune into. We appreciate you all. It's already after 2, so the flash test should be live. So if you log into PTS right now, you can play Conquest with Merlin and Merlin aspect and emoji aspect until
Damp Shroud, Runeforge, on Chile, the new skins for OB6 are available to try out.
Until 4 p.m. So you got 2 hours to play Conquest queues, and then it'll be up all night for you to just do customs or jump into jungle practice.
And I saw a quick question in chat. For us leaving it overnight, I believe that's just going to be standard practice for us going forward, right?
Unless
something
there's a reason not
happens.
to. Yes. And then there's also the Blink test live. So let us know how you feel about the temporary removal of combat blink and how, try and put on your, how does this actually impact my feel for the game, and we'll be putting out a survey for that sometime soon.
Yeah.
So
cool. Well, chat, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We will see you back on Titan Talk on Friday. Hope everyone has a great rest of the day. Please queue some games. Let us know what you think about the combat blink removal, or hop into PTS and let us know what you think about OB6. Until then, we will see you on the battleground. Peace out, everyone.